Ukrainian drone swarm obliterates Russia's biggest oil port in $1.80 billion midnight strike. In a single night, Ukraine launched one of the most advanced asymmetric operations of the war, crippling Russia's largest oil export hub, shattering its defensive pride, and exposing vulnerabilities stretching from the Baltic Sea to deep inside Bryansk. The strike not only ignited flames seen from space, but also triggered global market shocks, battlefield breakthroughs in Donbas, and a devastating missile penetration into Russia's industrial heart. This was not one attack. It was a coordinated sequence that rewrote the rules of modern warfare and left Moscow scrambling to respond. The sequence is traced from its point of origin. At 2 a.m., the operation began. Cumulative Russian losses across these linked actions are assessed at approximately $1.8 billion. The water below was almost completely black, lit only by thin ribbons of moonlight gliding over rolling waves. Moments later, the horizon erupted in an explosion so vast that satellite sensors immediately caught the thermal bloom. A swarm of 231 Ukrainian UAVs, according to Ukrainian assessments, plunged simultaneously into Russia's Primorski Oil Port, its largest maritime oil export terminal, responsible for moving more than 1 million barrels of crude per day. This strike was not delivered by bombers, submarines, or precision aircraft. It was delivered by small, cost-effective Ukrainian drones, many priced roughly the same as a family car. Because Ukraine understood that defeating a fortress does not always require a battering ram. Sometimes it requires several hundred small keys turning at once. By the time the first explosion rippled across the port, Russia's perception of its own invulnerability had already been punctured. For years, Moscow had invested tens of billions of dollars into its defensive ring around Primorsky, surrounding the site with layered radars and systems like the Buk M3, Tor M2, and Pantsir S1. They were designed to intercept high-speed missiles, high-altitude aircraft, and any conventional threat approaching the coastline. But none of those systems had been built to fight a swarm that moved like a tide, rising, falling, and disappearing into the natural clutter of the Baltic. For months leading up to the attack, Ukrainian intelligence teams mapped every asset around the port. They collected satellite passes, tracked tanker movement, drew diagrams of pumping stations, and identified the financial choke points linked to Russia's crude export. The objective was straightforward: target the artery that fed the Kremlin's war machine, sever the flow of fuel, force Moscow into costly repair cycles, and undermine the revenue that Russia relied on to sustain its fighting force. The platform mix used in the operation reflected Ukraine's asymmetric doctrine. Long-range Labuti UAVs with 100-kilogram payloads acted as budget cruise missiles. Heavier Palanita drones carried 200-kilogram warheads for hardened structures. Then came the Beaver drones, small, under $20,000 each, but launched in numbers high enough to saturate every radar and firing lane. Russia responded with interceptors costing millions of dollars per engagement, while Ukraine spent only a fraction. Analysts assessed a large cost asymmetry, with Russia expending multiples per intercept, but cost was only one dimension. Tactics formed the core of the breakthrough. The swarm didn't fly straight. Instead, many UAVs orbited more than 900 kilometers along the edges of NATO coastline, gliding through radar gaps amid overlapping civilian traffic patterns. Some executed sea-skimming maneuvers, dropping low enough to blend into wave reflections before rising again to recalibrate their bearings. Their onboard algorithms synchronized altitude changes with the rhythm of the Baltic swells, causing Russian radars to dismiss the movements as ocean clutter. Inside the Primorsky command post, operators stared at screens showing nothing but calm. Long-range radars searched the upper sky. Tor systems scanned mid-altitudes. Low-level noise near the surface was filtered out as false positives. That filtering created a hole in the shield that Ukraine had spent months studying. When the alarm finally sounded, seconds remained. Drones struck fuel cranes, pipeline junctions, and power nodes. Pumping stations erupted, storage units caught fire, docked tankers fed the inferno with tens of thousands of barrels of crude. The port's lights failed one by one until the entire coastline turned into a silhouette behind sheets of flame. The financial shock began immediately. Primorski's role in generating around $41 million per day meant that even a temporary shutdown would echo through Russia's economy. This single strike destroyed $800 million in immediate infrastructure, with reconstruction potentially exceeding $1 billion, analysts assessed. And because the attack hit the junction point for multiple export pipelines, the operational cripple was far greater than any single facility loss. Global markets reacted before dawn. Oil prices surged nearly 2% overnight, the sharpest jump since the 2022 OPEC Plus disputes. European governments held emergency energy meetings, anticipating the potential for retaliatory Russian pressure on gas market. NATO intelligence briefings warned of possible cyber attacks aimed at European power grids. Washington framed the strike as a defining moment in asymmetric warfare, proving that massed UAVs using commercial components could defeat systems once considered untouchable. Meanwhile, experts across Europe concluded that the psychological blow was just as significant as the physical destruction. Moscow's prestige had rested for decades on showcasing expensive systems as proof of strategic dominance. Now, hundreds of low-cost drones have demonstrated that those defenses could be bypassed with creativity rather than brute force. The logic of deterrence, built around expensive capability, had begun to crack. At 4:57 a.m., deep in the fog-covered fields of Donbas, a 12-person element of Ukraine's International Legion prepared to breach the outskirts of a fortified village, sitting within the Sever-Shpirna defensive belt. The Russians had turned the location into a strongpoint. Machine gun nests, trenches, several BTR armored carriers hidden in sheds, and 2 T-90M tanks concealed in orchards as counterattack assets. For Kyiv, capturing the village meant opening an armored corridor and breaking the rhythm of Russian resupply flows. The plan rested on a predictable but highly coordinated structure: reconnaissance, artillery shaping fire, armor advance, infantry breach, and FPV drone integration. Before the ground assault began, reconnaissance UAVs from the Australian squad scanned the area from altitude. Thermal images identified the ammunition shed, mortar pits, and firing points. Artillery batteries armed their M777 howitzers. When the fire command came, the first rounds landed precisely on the mapped coordinates, detonating the improvised depot and collapsing several dugouts. The barrage forced Russian defenders to reposition, revealing themselves to observers and adding clarity to FPV targeting. Through the smoke, 2 Ukrainian M2 Bradleys pushed forward. An M1 Abrams followed, firing its 120mm rounds at reinforced walls and suspected anti-tank posts. Under this cover, the Australian squad advanced from trenches, splitting between a frontal breach group and a flanking cut-off element. Whenever Russian resistance surged, infantry relayed coordinates to armor and artillery. When counter-attacking BTRs moved from concealment, FPV drones intercepted them. When the 2 T-90Ms attempted a coordinated push, drones struck them at their weakest angles, disabling both within minutes. By the 70-minute mark, Ukrainian forces and the International Legion controlled the central crossroads. The ammunition depot burned, trenches collapsed, and Russian defensive cohesion broke apart. Resupply convoys attempting to enter the village were cut down by artillery and precision anti-tank teams waiting along pre-selected firing lanes. Losses on the attacking side remained limited, 15 wounded, with only light vehicle damage, while Russian forces left behind destroyed armor, shattered defensive positions, and dozens of casualties. In the aftermath, Ukraine secured the corridor, launched mine-clearing teams, and established temporary defenses to repel potential counterattacks. This success reflected a broader pattern across Donbas. Russia held numerical advantage, but its older platforms, T, T-72S, T-90S, Smerch launchers, and Iskander systems were increasingly vulnerable to Ukraine's agile UAV reconnaissance artillery integration. Ukraine, though smaller, had adapted faster, turning the battlefield into a contest of coordination rather than mass. Later that night, at 2:47 a.m., deep inside Russia, air defenses in Bryansk detected multiple small objects from the southwest. Pantsir systems opened fire, intercepting several drones, but they focused exclusively on the decoys. Two low-flying Storm Shadow missiles swept in from treetop height, bypassing the distracted radar net. At 3 a.m., twin explosions engulfed the Bryansk chemical plant, believed to support Russian munitions production, in fireballs that lit the sky red. Secondary blasts followed, consistent with igniting fuel or stored materials. Russian authorities claimed most drones were intercepted, yet images circulating across local channels showed large sections of the facility leveled. Power outages spread across the district. A thick chemical odor settled over nearby neighborhoods. Ukrainian officials confirmed the strike as a coordinated, multi-stage penetration of one of Russia's most fortified regions. The message was clear. Ukraine retained the reach to strike deep, and Russia's rear was no longer outside the scope of the war. As smoke rose over Bryansk and the glow of fires faded across Primorski, observers recognized a shift taking place. Ukraine had leveraged inexpensive, adaptive technologies to achieve outcomes that once required fleets of jets or missile barrages costing billions. The war was no longer about who possessed the largest arsenal, but who could think faster, adapt quicker, and strike smarter. Today's events inflicted more than $1.8 billion in cumulative Russian losses, damage stretching from the Baltic coastline to fortified belts in Donbas and deep into Russia's industrial rear. But beyond the numbers, the deeper consequence was strategic. Ukraine demonstrated that ingenuity could outperform size, that morale could outlast mass, and that a flexible force could dismantle rigid doctrine. A central question now guides military planning. When will this new form of warfare reshape the next front, and who will be ready when it does? What do you think? Share your thoughts, comment section below.